I'm Jeff Sturgis from Whitetail Habitat Solutions, and when we get into the month of July, and especially going into August, there's probably no greater time where people are throwing a bunch of cameras out in the woods. And we have a lot of reveals out in the woods right now, and part of our game, that's part of what we love to do. And I wanted to talk about some of my tried and true settings for different reasons that I've developed over the years of using trail cameras since about 1998. Going all the way back to, they had a Leaf River brand back in the day, and non-typical. We were happy when we had 36 exposure because we'd get more pictures. We would take them to Walmart. They had a 1 hour photo processing. It was pretty cool to get those in and then see pictures of a bunch of moving branches or something and no deer pictures. But bottom line is we've come a long ways and really have it down to a science now for not only the strategy of where to put a trail camera, where to hang one, but also what settings, what position, and most importantly, how to hide it. And hiding a trail camera is important. You know, we have a lot of trail cam setups where deer come through during the daylight, they look right at the camera. At night, they walk right by. What's the difference? Well, they can't smell it, they can't hear it. The big difference is during the daylight, they can see it. And even a box this size, they're pretty wary of. It's unnatural. And so probably a lot of you out there, a lot of times a buck comes in, a big buck, older buck, one you're after, he looks at the camera and then you see him backing up and he's gone. You never get a picture of him. We want to make sure that doesn't happen to you. So part of that's their focus. You know, one of the things that we're looking at first is we always have a mock scrape most of the time, or a water hole that the camera is positioned on. And we have a mock scrape right here. Now there's a lot of different ways to create a mock scrape. We're not going to have a mock scrape video right here. But bottom line is when you have a mock scrape, when you have that water hole, when deer comes in, they're really focused on that instead of you. But it's not just that. You know, we have a camera almost on every mock scrape, every setup, every stand location. Bottom line is if they're focusing on that mock scrape, that water hole, they're not focusing on the camera either. So that helps you keep that camera more hidden. Now, one of the things that I've advocated for a very, very long time is for folks to actually hang their trail cameras high. We noticed, well, this is going back into the early 2000s where we started to finally have digital cameras where we could store images on a card, but then the red flash from the bulbs, from infrared bulbs, would go off and spook deer. We'd see that all the time. You'd see it was very evident. And again, it goes back to they were getting spooked because of the box size. So one way that even when infrared was all that was available and you had those red bulbs flashing, a great way around that, besides the mock scrape, we'd put it on a lot of natural scrapes back then, was to hang our cameras high. So right here, so not only having that mock scrape, having a focal point for deer to not really care about the camera, but also hanging at least head higher or higher. We found that even with the red bulbs, deer wouldn't look up at this level. You know what's been interesting lately? We've actually put some cameras down low where they're a foot off the ground looking up. And that's actually been a decent way too, because it's out of that normal line of vision for a whitetail and where they expect predators or hunting pressure or humans, human intrusion. It's at a different level. Another thing too, we're always trying to hang the camera on a tree that is wider than the camera. And so that's a bare minimum. We don't want that box to stick out. Now in this case, we don't have a trail that's going right at the camera right away. So that really helps. There's a trail right here and a trail over here, and that X is at the mock scrape. So we don't have deer coming and looking directly at this camera, even if it's in their line of vision. That really helps. If we didn't, I really like to have some side cover around. So if a deer is coming at that camera, I really like there to be another tree next to it, shrubs, bushes, whatever it might be, so that that silhouette, it does not stick out. In this case, we have a lot of timber behind the tree from either side, so pretty hard for a deer to pick that up. So hanging them high, tree wider, like this right here. And then most of the time we're facing them north. But we can get away with facing them south sometimes because a lot of times we're putting them up higher, angling them down. So we're limiting the amount of sky in the background. When you look at your camera picture that you're getting, even on your test photos from Reveal, I don't like to see 50% sky in that picture or more. It's okay to have a little sky in that picture, but I want that sky and that skyline to be more like a third of the picture or less. That means you're pointing at the ground. That means you're not getting as much sunlight coming in, you're not getting as much reflection. and you're really focused on that area where you're going to actually want to get a picture of that buck that comes through, or that deer that you're after. So angling down, we like that too. Making sure that that sky is out of the picture as much as possible. Again, the tree wider than the camera, that head high height, something for it to focus on. And then really, let's talk about settings. If I'm just on a trail and I'm not using a mock scrape, then you never know if those deer are just going back and forth, they're not stopping. Then I might have that, in that case, especially a remote trail that's off a food source, I'm not getting a lot of deer pictures there, I might have it on no delay as far as delays go. So we have cameras like that where it's very remote. We expect to pick up a nice buck here or there, but not a lot of pictures. We might have it on no delay. On other situations where we're on a food source, we might have it on a 10-minute delay because we have deer coming out into a food plot. In some cases, folks have bait piles out there, some type of food source where there's a lot of deer coming into at one time. We might limit the amount of pictures that we get on that because we don't want to go through hundreds of pictures per day just in one camera, let alone it burns out the battery a lot faster. So when I get into a mock scrape setting like this, which is common of almost all my camera locations or water hole, I'm more at a 2 to 5 minute delay depending on frequency. The frequency is determined by, if I'm getting more pictures in an area than another, I might cut that down to 4 or 5 minute delay as opposed to 2 minute. My whole idea for that is I don't want to run out of batteries. These reveals are incredible for 15, 20,000 pictures, for getting a lot of pictures and lasting us several months. But not if we're putting it on no delay, putting it on video, which I'll talk about in a second. You're burning through a lot of batteries. So what I really like is that 2 to 5 minute window adjusting, because I want to get 20 pictures a day, 15 pictures a day, and I want to get that for 8 months or 10 months. I want that camera to continue working, let alone if we put a solar panel on there, lithium batteries, we can run that almost indefinitely. But most people aren't doing that. If you're just using the basic camera, then I want to make sure that that camera is lasting for a very long time. And I'd rather get a snapshot of deer that are coming into a location over a 5-month period and fewer photos than running through a lot of photos and burning that camera out in 3 weeks. I don't get back to it for 2 weeks after that. I have gaps in when there's actually deer, when there's not. Instead, with the reveal, put it on an appropriate delay, and then you can get pictures for many months. We've had some last for over a year, let alone if you're sticking a solar panel on it, lithium battery pack, something like that, something that you can run indefinitely on your cameras. One of the other settings, video. I love video. Now with Tactacam, been able to actually get true HD video on a lot of our cameras. We still have to update some of them with an SD card. Newer ones are coming in that way. So what we're doing with those cameras is, Dylan and I have debated back and forth. We used to have 20-second delay, 10-second delay, and we're right around 10, 15-second clip length because we don't want to burn the batteries down. If we have 20-second, 30-second, 1 minute clip lengths, then we're really burning down those batteries fast. So we want to manage that length. 10 seconds seems to be pretty good because when a deer comes into that mock scrape or water hole, they're usually hitting it just for a short period of time and moving on. And that seems to be great for getting the entire process of a buck making a scrape. That works out really, really well. And what's really cool in HD then, with the new HD, then we can actually take screenshots at that HD and get a really good exact picture, move through frame by frame of the exact position of that buck we want to see. Count points very easily, you can zoom in. Not to mention that's what ends up in those HD that we're converting over now into all of our B-roll for the YouTube videos. So I really encourage video use, just because you get a great snapshot of where that buck's coming from, where he's going to, and you get the entire behavior of him making a mock scrape, drinking water. Tells you a lot more than just a snapshot. Snapshots, most of us are running 3-shot burst. So let's say you had a 2-minute delay, 5-minute delay on something like this, we're running a 3-shot burst, and that gets those. And if I'm running pictures, then I might run that on just a minute delay, 30-second delay, or even no delay at all, especially in a situation like this, because I'm not going to miss anything. And with it just taking pictures, it's burning through a lot less battery than if it was on video. So it's time to get your reveals out in the woods right now. It's a great time to do so. There's some of the tried and true tricks that we've had for not only making sure you have the right settings on the camera and getting a good snapshot of everything that's coming through, managing your batteries, the position, making sure you're really focused on what's going on in front of the camera as opposed to more skylight, making sure you're not getting sun coming in and snapping that camera off with a bunch of moving weeds and heat rising off water, something like that. But also hiding your cameras, making sure the deer are focused on that mock scrape or water hole, whatever it might be when they come in. So they're not only not focused on you in a tree stand nearby, but your camera hanging at head high or higher on a tree wider than that camera in the other direction nearby. So get those cameras out. I hope some of these settings and some of these little tips will help you. And this is what we do after 24, 25 years of using cameras. And we can't wait to see what Reel comes out with next, but we're having a good time with them right now, and I hope you are too.